All right. Looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another beautiful Wednesday. I hope that it is lovely wherever you are in the world today. If you're watching the replay, thanks for being here. Today's session is going to be a little bit about trip operations using ClickUp. So, ClickUp is a project management tool. And this is often a gap in what we call the tech stack of tour operation businesses or travel related businesses. And so today I just thought, or I've been talking about ClickUp to so many folks recently, and a few people have been asking about my help with ClickUp, that I thought I would give you a little orientation to the platform, show you around a little bit, and then also show you how I would use this tool to keep myself organized if I was planning and managing trips. All right. If you have questions about ClickUp, drop them down in the comments below. If you have, things to share about how you keep your trip operations organized, you can also drop them with us down below. Let me just get my screen all ready over here. And go and get presenting. All right, so this is going to look pretty humdrum at the beginning. So should you open up a ClickUp account, this is what we call a workspace. So I have a demo space set up here, and this demo space would be a place where I would probably call this my my trip operations space, or you could have it called anything related to managing all of your trips. Okay. A space, think of a space as like the biggest level of your organization, right? So there are spaces, folders, lists, and tasks in ClickUp. So you have 4 levels of organization. And so you can even just have one space for your business, and then you could have folders for each like department. So you could have a marketing folder and a sales folder, and then a trip operations folder. Okay. And then you can have lists, and you can have a list for each trip. And then in each trip, there's going to be a series of tasks. Okay. So once you have your space set up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our first folder. Okay. So we're going to call this our, trip operations folder. And it's going to be shared with everybody in my space. So this is my whole team. Okay. So now we've got our first folder with our list. Okay. And then this is just a sample of a list, just to kind of have something to show you to compare the two things. And your operations folder can nest the different lists. Okay. So I'm just going to delete my 2 other lists here, and we're going to use this main list. So this is our list that I'm going to rename my trip task template. So I like to create a master version of a list that I would use over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. So this is an example of all of the tasks that you would need to complete to run a trip. So I'm going to do this from a point of, let's say you're running a group departure. That's the area where I have the most expertise, but a lot of this is going to apply to custom groups or custom itineraries. You're just going to have a smaller group size, basically. Okay. So for our trip task template, so this is where we just want to hammer out the quick list of all the things that have to happen. So from the time the customer you've closed the sale. Okay. So what has happened, right? You've probably collected the trip deposit, right? So that is the the transition from the sales side of things to the operations side of things. Okay, there's always a money thing that happens there. So we've collected the trip deposit from the traveler. They said, yes, I want to come. What do you do next? Okay. Some folks would then go and collect maybe like a registration form. That could be, you might call this a traveler. I apparently can't spell. It could be a traveler form. I think information form is what I've seen a lot. Okay. TIFF for short. But some kind of intake form should happen right away, right? You want to gather every person in the group's name, probably birthday. Maybe you need a little bit of information about their dietary needs. Maybe you need to understand their level of fitness. Maybe you want to understand their motivations for coming on this trip. This is often a mechanism that we like to automate, okay, when it comes to collecting this thing. So after we've got the registration form, what else do we need to do? We need to send, itinerary or whatever program information. That is another step we often like to automate when it comes to getting things out to our clients. I'm just trying to pull up another list. I have a list of all the things we like to do, but I think I changed the name of it. I'll find it after. I'll share it with you guys. Okay. We send them their itinerary program information. Here we probably also need to like set up the final balance payment. Okay. That might be something that is automatable. It might be something that is not automatable, depending on what tool you're using. If the customer has paid a deposit on your website via Stripe, they may have paid a fixed amount, and you might have to go and create a separate invoice and set up your payment reminders so that it comes from your other system. That might be QuickBooks, that might be your CRM system like Keep. So there could be a place where you have to go to kind of get that thing sort of sorted out. If you are doing custom experiences at this time, you might also need to actually secure, confirm your booking, right? If you're doing groups, you might have to just update, a PAX list or update the supplier with the new person who's joined the trip. And maybe you don't do that until a certain time, right? So in my experience, we would usually send the PAX list to the supplier either like just after 90 days, but usually before 60 days. And that was because 90 days was the payment final balance date for all the travelers. So when we were doing a group, we wanted to ensure that the group's payments all came through. That way everyone was like confirmed to come on the trip. Because sometimes around that payment date's when you'd have any like cancellations, right? Stuff that's come up for people and they don't want to make that final balance payment and they want out before the balance is due, right? So we would usually send the supplier the group list with names and dietary stuff, room or bed upgrades and stuff like that between that 90 and 60-day mark. So that the supplier had lots of time as well, right, to make their bookings and reservations on their end. So that's another piece that would happen. And then what happens next? Well, usually there's some like downtime between, the time of booking and then, actually getting ready for the trip. But with the trip tasks in here, you might have to then prepare to pay your supplier. set up your payments in Wise, schedule everything, get that ready to go, right? Then we want to send supplier, right, the final packs list. That can be by email. That can be by uploading it to a shared folder in a cloud file system like Google Drive or Dropbox. That could also be from an itinerary software. So Safari Portal will take your client's information in via a form and allow you to send that information to your supplier. It's still via email, but it's going directly from the system to the supplier. There's no exporting, uploading, emailing, stuff kind of required. It's just a one-click send to supplier, enter their email, off it goes kind of thing. So we want to make sure the suppliers always have everything they need so they can give the best experience possible to our clients. Okay. They are our local partners and our local team, basically, is how I've always thought of suppliers. So we want to make sure they get the final packs list. Usually we want to send some more information to our clients, right? We want to send, maybe, maybe we have to send those, payment reminders to clients. Then we need to send, final itinerary. Maybe we need to send the packing list. I'm putting these in all as separate tasks, but they might be combined together depending on your own process or workflow. You might have a few of these things kind of bundled together. Like the packing list might be a part or an upload to your itinerary, right, as an additional document. So there's, various ways to kind of do things. But I'm just going to map out all of the tasks right now from a kind of high level. And then we want to usually send, maybe you have to send a second form, right? Maybe you need to collect, client arrival details. I usually call this the traveler travel details form is the wording that I would use for that. And this is a second supplementary form that is collected much closer to the trip. Usually 60 days prior is kind of when that happens. Whereas this traveler information form is at the time of booking. Okay. People just paid you a bunch of money. It's really easy to get this information from them. Like if it's pay for the trip and on the next screen is the form, they're going to just start filling it out. Okay. Because they are excited. They want to come on the trip. They want to do the paperwork. Okay. You might have to also, get a waiver signed. Here in North America, waivers are a big deal, and they are something that a lot of companies use as a practice, whether that's, waiver, the waiver clause is in the booking terms and conditions, and it's sort of like inherent with the booking, or it's a separate document, is totally, kind of up to the business owner and the recommendations given to you by your lawyer. But this is one way or another, right? That, waiver, or I'll put T and C, needs to be signed, right? There's often something that customers need to do. So now we've got, their arrival details. Maybe we need to, just, do any reconfirmations. Reconfirmations is often related to more of the custom space, where you're doing like fit bookings. That's where you might need to reconfirm with the hotels. You may need to reconfirm with a guide. You might need to do that with the different just tourings and stuff, right? You might have to purchase any last minute tickets. I say last minute, but we like to have things done as well in advance as possible. So tasks like this, I would have marked as due 30 days prior, to ensure that those service reconfirmations start as soon as possible. And then what I would do is create subtasks. I'll show you that in a second. So we've reconfirmed everything. We've collected everything we need from the client. We've sent everything we think we need to send to the client. So there's just that sort of final, couple of days. So I usually like to send a bon voyage email, right, to the client. If you're doing fit travel, some people like to host a pre-trip call. We used to do pre-trip calls with Wild Women, and that was a great way to just get everybody together and answer any questions that they had, right? Often we'd have a group of 12 or so, and they're headed off to go and do Everest Base Camp, or they're about to go down to the Galapagos. And there's always lots of last minute questions, right? Around, do I have the right visa? And, we just always want to review those types of things with everybody to make sure that they have their, passport ready to go. They got their extra pictures for their hiking permits. They, packed the right kind of socks. Okay. Like all the little things we just want to go over. And I've started supporting clients to implement that for, all of their expeditions. So I work with a tour operator, and she's, taking clients out on winter expeditions. And a lot of the clients that come up to do these experiences with her don't have a lot of winter experience, right? They're really quite nervous about being cold. And so it's really great to get them on that pre-trip call, go through, the packing list one more time. She even brings out the gear and kind of shows them what they're going to be wearing. It just really helps calm everybody down and make sure that, any of those last minute questions do have an opportunity to get answered so that they can show up, both prepared with all the stuff, but also like mentally prepared, right, for the experience. So that really goes a long way. So let's say for now, this list is ready to go. Let's say these are all the things that you need to do on your trip. What I would do here is I would select all these tasks and I would go, okay, who's the person responsible for that? If you're in a small organization, it might be just you. Okay. So I'm going to assign these to me. Right. And then ClickUp only works if it has a task assigned to somebody and due at a certain time. Okay. So we're going to go through our due dates and say that, okay, this is going to be, let's just, play this out a little bit and say that I'm working on a trip that's going out June 1st. Okay. So I might want to send my bon voyage email like a week prior, let's say. I want to do all my reconfirmations May 1st. That's my 30 days prior. I need all my waivers signed, let's say also by May 1st. Collect client details. That was 60 days prior. So that's now overdue if I haven't done it already. And see how that comes up red? That tells me the system knows based on the date that it's overdue. Okay. So then you just kind of work backwards and you assign all the due dates to the trip. And for this template one, you might want to leave the due dates empties so that when you duplicate it, you can then assign the due date to the task as it relates to the trip. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. So that's how I would assign due dates if I was going to make this into a real trip. And then what you can do in ClickUp is inside each of these tasks, as I had mentioned before, right, we can have subtasks. So let's say, right, for the subtask client arrival details, I need to get one from Katie. I need to get one from Will. I need to get one from Mackenzie. I need to get one from Bob and Jane. Okay. So it's just a place where you can keep that quick list of like, did I get one from every single client? If you don't have a tool like Yuli, where there is a client task and you can see who's completed which items, okay, this is your next best system to keep track of whose stuff you got and whose stuff you don't got. Okay. And these tasks, again, can all be, selected in bulk. They can be assigned to a person. So I'm going to assign this, task gathering over to Will. Okay. I'm going to add him to the main task as well. And Will is going to be the one who's now responsible for making sure we get this travel details form from everybody on the trip. Okay. He's now been assigned that stuff. So that is a little bit about subtasks. Okay. And then what you can do on your template also is your list has some settings. Let me just get that open. Okay. Well, it doesn't want to pull it open for me. So you've got your list all set up. All right. And so now that this is a task template, you can take this and you can go, okay, I'm going to duplicate this. Okay. I'm going to copy everything. You can decide whether you want to include all the things or just some of the things. So if it's assignees might be one that you would change. And that would be because you are, you have different people working on different trips. Okay. So if you have a more robust team, maybe don't copy the assignees. Okay. Or have your template assignee list be empty. If it's you, just you in your business, have the template be all you so you don't have to add yourself to the next trip. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to my my trip operations folder. So I'm just going to copy that list. Okay. Give it a second. It's thinking. And then we're going to refresh it. There we go. So there's our copy. Okay. So then I like to come here and I go rename and I would go trip, right? Let's call it Nepal 2023. Maybe you need to put something in here, October 2023. Sure. Okay. So now you have the whole list of things that need to happen for the Nepal trip. Yeah. Just pre-populated, ready to go. Okay. Pre-assigned to somebody. And now you can just work backwards here on your dates, right? So if this is an October trip, I'm going to go here and go, okay, I'm going to send, say it's October 1st, just for simplicity's sake. I'm going to send my Bon Voyage email on the Friday prior. All right. I'm going to do my service reconfirmations. That's going to be September 1st. Oops. Right. So you're going to go back through all your dates real quickly. You're going to update all of that. And then what happens here is with your demo space. Okay. You can see your lists. Sorry, this one I wanted to click. So we'll hide the task one, but if you had multiple trips now, you would see multiple lists at this folder level. So you can kind of keep an eye on which trip you still have different things to do really quickly at a glance. As you just saw, you can hide stuff like this. So if you just want to work on one trip, you can expand it, work on it, go from there. You can also go into me mode. And this means that you're only going to see tasks assigned to you. Okay. So while it shows 5 to-do tasks, those are assigned to Will. So I'm not going to see them. Okay. You can also check here and go, okay, Will's got 2 tasks on here. That way you can see just what your team members are needing to do. So this is a great way to divide up the work all in one space and have a method to keep track of who's doing what, when things are due, and watching for stuff if it comes as overdue so that you can make sure that things are staying on track. Okay. A couple other things that I like to show people when we use ClickUp is these statuses. Okay. So right now, my statuses are pretty bare bones. So I'm going to pick just a normal status right now, just to show you what that looks like. Okay. So let's say I've completed that, collect registration in progress, right? Sent the itinerary information. in progress, setting up final balance. Okay, so this is the beautiful thing about statuses within ClickUp. This is how you can see which tasks have been moved forward by who, okay? And when we go into these tasks, the system keeps a record on the side of all the different little interactions that have happened. So if you come into work one day and your team member who's on the other side of the world has gone ahead on certain things because they live in the future, you'll be able to see all of that stuff in real time, assuming they are using ClickUp, okay? Each of these tasks can also have information in them. So in our template task, when you're setting that up, I would put in the time to put in here basically a summary version of an SOP. Okay. So set up the final balance payment would be one of those things. Okay. So what I would do here is I would go, I'm going to make a list. I'm going to go open, QuickBooks, search for the client. If no client, add new client. Okay. Create invoice. And then any notes about that invoice, right? Ensure the whatever field is filled out. Okay. Maybe you have some really specific little, custom things that have to happen on the invoice, right? Maybe you have to add taxes. Okay. And maybe taxes are a little bit specific depending on where the trip is taking place. So here in Canada, that's the case. If a tour operator is based in British Columbia, but they are selling a tour in Ontario, they have to add Ontario taxes because that is where the service is being rendered. Okay. So funny little things like that might need to be in here as a reminder, right? And then maybe we need to, email invoice to the client. I'll write it all. Add taxes. Maybe if you're here in BC, you need to add a copy of the deposit receipt to the invoice. So maybe you have to download that from a different system. Maybe that's Stripe, maybe that's your CRM system. And then you need to attach it to the invoice to show that part of the payment has been made already. Okay. That's BC consumer protection law, for example. So that's a little practice that we have to remember here in this province to do when we are selling travel services. And then you email the invoice to the client. And then while you're there, you're going to set up the payment reminders. Okay. So that is a thing that hopefully wherever you're sending your invoices from, you have the option to set up invoice reminders. Ideally, you do that on a global capacity. So you say, QuickBooks, send a reminder to every client, right? The week before their payment is due, the day their payment is due, 2 days after their payment is due, right? And then we have a task for ourselves, either in ClickUp or in your CRM system, to follow up with any overdue payments. Okay. And that is when you go and you pick up the phone and you say, hey, are you coming on this trip? If so, I need your money now. Right. And you can take their credit card information right from them over the phone. So this is how we provide instructions to our team or to ourselves to remember which core steps we have to take until this task is only done once all these 7 steps are completed. And then we mark it as complete or closed. Okay. So each task can also have its instructions put inside of it, which is really helpful to speed up what you're doing as well as to delegate it to other people. Okay. Game changer. Yes, it takes time to set all of this up. So you can either do this yourself or you can hire and work with someone like me or other ClickUp experts. There are lots of those out in the world. Whether they have a travel background or not is to be determined, but they're process people, okay? And ClickUp is all about taking the stuff that's in your head, or maybe it's on a notebook or a set of stickies on your wall, and bringing it into a space where you can collaborate with other people, okay? And by having one source of truth for all the tasks that have to happen about a trip in one place, you can see them progressing through the different stages, right? And then the thing is that everybody has to contribute to feed the system. So the ClickUp list is no good if the task, statuses don't get updated or the due dates don't get changed if something's been delayed. Okay. You have to interact with the system. And that does take a little bit of time, but eventually you get into this rhythm in ClickUp where you're looking at this list and you're filtering by, maybe we're going to sort by due date here, for example. Okay. And now it's a lot easier for me and my team to see which things are coming up, right? That are either overdue to do today or coming up in the future that we can see at a glance, okay, I have 2 traveler details things I need to take care of today because they're overdue, like by a lot, right? So I need to tackle that and get that done. So that's how the system can then also help you prioritize and ensure that you're staying on track with preparing for each of your different trips over the course of your entire portfolio. Okay. So guys, that is a quick, dirty introduction to ClickUp. I'm going to drop the link, my affiliate link for ClickUp down below. So if you would like to snag yourself a free account, you can do that. There's no additional cost to you. It just tells ClickUp that I sent you there. So should you ever take a paid account and upgrade to a more robust version of ClickUp, which I think is like $9 a month per user or something, very, very affordable. I'll get a little bit of commission just as a thank you for sending you that way, basically. And then we do have options available for software setup. So, a full ClickUp setup is going to be a process audit thing. Okay, we're going to work through documenting your processes first. We're going to maybe restructure a couple of things depending on what software you're using and what different steps you take at different times. And it's usually a 3 to 6 month process to go through your process audit, get everything organized, get it all set up in ClickUp, and get everybody trained to use the system. Okay. So we're talking, probably around $6,000 to kind of have the entire piece of processes and software set up. But I am confident that it's going to save you that amount of time. That's a $25 an hour person for a month and a half. Okay. And you've got me for 6. So it's a pretty good deal. And then you walk away with a new system where you can keep things organized and have all of your trips, different tasks moving along through the different statuses at the right time, done by the right people. And that's what OBMs are all about. We're all about making sure the right thing gets done by the right person at the right time. Okay, that's kind of our little mantra. So I'd be happy to support you guys with that, should that feel like the next best step in your business. So without further ado, we'll leave it there for today. You can drop questions, queries, comments, and concerns in the comments. And I will see you guys here live next week. If you have requests for topics you'd like me to cover, send me a DM, an email, katie@peakflowobm.com, or post up here in the Facebook group. And until next week, bye for now.